Hello everyone and welcome back to The Last Lap. In today's video we're going to be recapping everything that happened from Texas Motor Speedway this weekend. It was a doubleheader with the Xfinity and the Cup Series kicking off their round of 8. But before we hop into it, I just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button and that like button. And you can also check us out on Instagram at The Last Lap News. And as always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew on the show. And how you feeling post-Texas, getting this round of 8 kick-started and getting these playoffs underway and moving right along? So how you feeling post-Texas?
Well, it was the typical Texas race at first. Nothing happened pretty much besides that big one that happened at the very beginning. But other than that, nothing really much happened until the last 50 laps or something like that. And everything just went chaotic. It just seems like one playoff driver after another was having an issue today, except for Larson, of course. But yeah, it was a weird race. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting race. We'll dissect that in just a minute. But first, I just want to briefly talk about the Xfinity race. So I'm gonna hop into it. 50 laps ago, there was a caution and John Hunter Nemechek had a over-the-wall too soon penalty, and that put him back in the pack. And then he was saved by a caution with 28 laps to go. Brandon Brown unfortunately spun, and on that pit stop, John Hunter Nemechek took 2 tires. Daniel Hemrick took 4, and then that was pretty much the deciding factor. John Hunter Nemechek had the track position, and he was able to stay up front and he would get the win. His first, I believe it's his first Xfinity win. I know it's his first
No, it was his second.
But his second Xfinity win, sorry. First this season in the 54 car. Good for him to be able to get a win in that car. He said that he needed to get a win to prove that he belonged, or he could belong in the Xfinity series, I guess, eventually, since he literally just re-signed with KPM last week. But I think it's great for him. I'm still a little bit surprised he doesn't have an Xfinity ride with Joe Gibbs Racing next season, but he did prove to himself that he belongs there eventually. So, Matthew, what do you have to quickly say about the Xfinity race?
Well, John Hunter Nemechek came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I thought he'll be up there, but I didn't think he'll be the most dominant driver today, and that's what he did. I mean, that 54 car is juiced with some rowdy energy. It just seems like it doesn't matter if it's Kyle Busch, or Christopher Bell, or Ty Gibbs, or now John Hunter Nemechek. It just seems like everybody's good in that car. So, yeah, if you get a chance to drive the 54 car, you better take the opportunity while you can. But it was a great win for him. This win now makes it look silly that he's re-signing in the trucks, but, it is what it is. I guess the sponsorship had something to deal with that, or their JGR's downsizing maybe in the Xfinity side, so I mean, no matter what the circumstances is, it's great for him. But yeah, other than that, it was a John Hunter Nemechek dominated race for the most part. Glad to see all 100 people watching that race in person. Man, I thought when I first turned on the TV, I thought it was a COVID race for a second because there was barely anybody there.
I should have previewed this at the start of the video, but Matthew's going to be racking up the Texas Motor Speedway jokes in this video, so...
I'm sorry. There's just something about Texas Motor Speedway that really drives me crazy. Because ever since they reconfigured that track, they turned into an absolute dumpster fire.
That's too. We need to have a counter for how many times Matthew rose Texas Motor Speedway.
Hey, you can do the same thing too, Jimmy. We're counting that yours as well.
I already got mine out over text. We already talked about that, anyways. But
I mean, yeah. Let's just be honest. Those Xfinity tickets probably should be worth $1.50 at this rate. I mean, you probably get those tickets from the Dollar Tree right by the street.
I mean, I'm glad that at least I'm going to Martinsville, so I'm getting a doubleheader for I think it's $40 for general admission. So I'm getting a truck and Xfinity race for $40. You can't really beat that. That's a heck of a deal. So.
And one more thing, I know there's definitely plenty of parking at these Texas races. I mean, you can park right next to the grandstand. So you could just go out the gate and right there's your car. Don't have to worry about traffic like Nashville. So you get plenty of parking.
My goodness. All right. With
Okay, I'm
with
done.
with that, I'm gonna hop into the Cup recap now. And it was weird. On that 32, there was a really big crash. At the competition caution right before that, though, Kyle Busch had a speeding penalty, and that put him way back in traffic. Chase Elliott was making his way through the field because he had to start in the back. And then at the competition caution, Kyle Busch had a speeding penalty, so that put him back in the pack. And there was a really big crash on the back stretch coming out of turn 2. Bubba Wallace got a little bit loose, and that set off just a massive wreck. Several cars were involved. Kyle Busch, it looked like he got through unscathed at first, but apparently he had a little bit of left rear damage, so it was fixable, so they were able to repair that, and he was able to get back going. But very close call for Kyle Busch there with that big crash. He actually ended up staying out. He saved fuel after that big wreck. He pitted again for fuel, and a few other drivers did, and he was actually able to get track position and win stage 1, surprisingly, after the crazy start that he had with the speeding penalty and all of that. There was a debris caution in stage 2 that pretty much tightened the field back up for a restart, but Kyle Larson just dominated after stage 1. He pretty much dominated the rest of this race. There was a caution, and then the final stage is where it gets interesting. The final 50 laps or so, Chase Briscoe had an issue. Joey Logano, he blew an engine. That was the first major playoff implication for a driver in this race. I know Kyle Busch had his issue, but he was able to make his way back through the field. So Logano blew up, and then Anthony Alfredo, he got in a wreck, a very scary wreck. He backed it into the wall in turn 1. The car came to a rest on the bottom of the apron of the track, and it actually caught on fire, so it was a pretty scary wreck. Glad to see that he was able to get out of that race car under his own power and obviously not get injured from that. Then another playoff implication. So Kevin Harvick, Ryan Blaney, and Denny Hamlin were 3 wide coming off of turn 4. Harvick kind of pushed Blaney up the racetrack, and then Blaney accidentally got into Denny Hamlin's left rear, and that eventually caused a tire rub, and Denny Hamlin spun out. Another reason why I can't wait for these composite bodies next year, just because a tiny little touch and you get a tire rub and end up spinning out. So that was unfortunate for Denny. Denny would have another incident as well. I believe, who got spun? Chris Buescher spun, and then Denny Hamlin ran into the left rear of Buescher and damaged his hood pretty bad. Somehow he was able to come back and salvage a good finish. I don't know how he was able to. Truex, he got in a wreck with 14 laps to go. Another playoff driver with a problem. Daniel Suarez and him were racing pretty tight. They made brief contact. Truex overcorrected the car and shot into the outside wall, pretty much ending his day. So those were the 3 main playoff drivers that had issues today. Let me see. And then other than that, it was the Kyle Larson show. William Byron was right there as well. He was second for most of this race. Tyler Reddick, he had a good run. Kevin Harvick, he was strong as well. So a lot of those cars were up there, but nobody could catch Kyle Larson. He was in their zip code. Penske brought some pretty good speed today as well. I was pretty impressed with Ryan Blaney especially. Brad Keselowski was up there too, so I was pretty impressed with the Penske cars today with their speed. They were up in the top 5 most of the day as well. So Matthew, give me your quick thoughts about the Cup race, and then I'll show us the top 10 and the playoff grid.
Well, this race was a mix of different things. It was crazy, and then it turned really boring, and then it went crazy again. Like the whole big one was crazy because you don't expect to see a Talladega, Daytona like regular on these tracks. But man, these restarts are going all over the place, and you just get one over and cause chain reaction right there. It's crazy. It didn't seem like a lot of playoff drivers had a lot of issues until like the very end. Like every single caution almost involved a playoff driver at least. So it seemed like until the end when these playoff drivers all started having issues at once. But other than that, it was a typical Texas race. Hard to pass. Especially when you get to the lead. I feel. Once again, I felt bad for William Byron. I feel like there was a couple times he could have passed Larson, but due to this package, once you get behind someone, your car just automatically just goes back and you're a second away all of a sudden. So once again, it shows the restarts. The restarts reminded me of Texas last year when Austin Dillon stayed out and he kept the lead pretty much the whole time because that's how this package works. It's hard to pass the leader with this package. So that reminded me of that a little bit at the end, but I mean, it's no surprise that Larson was making the Final Four. Who thought he wasn't gonna make it? But other than that, now he's got extra time now to get ready for Phoenix, and we'll see how he does next week because that's another mile and a half, and well, he just dominated this mile and a half race, so maybe he'll go back to back, or maybe somebody else like below the cut line might win it. So it'll be interesting to watch for next weekend at Kansas. Kyle Busch himself had a roller coaster of a day. I mean, it started even after the Roval when his crew chief got suspended. And I'm like, man, right after something good happened, something was gonna happen. And then we spin on pit road, which that was absolutely uncalled for, in my opinion. I mean, this is a playoff race. Don't take the risk. It just does, if you have to be slow, be slow. I don't want any speeding penalties and risk a whole race. And then because of that, we had to be in the back, and next thing you know, we're almost involved in that big crash. And that I thought he was done, to be honest, at first. But somehow, some way, we're able to escape with that. And then he won stage 1, which was definitely really impressive. But then after that stage, it went all downhill because our team did not know how to adjust his car now, and all of a sudden we went from a top 3 car or top 5 car, whatever, to basically being around 10th or 11th place car. And I'm like, really? What did we do wrong with this car? Apparently it was a tire thing according to Bob Pockris, but even after that they couldn't fix it, and that was frustrating considering the good speed we had in the beginning. But somehow, someway, we're able to avoid all the chaos, and he still finished top 10. So that's a good day for us. And hopefully Kansas, we get back up with another good finish. Maybe a win because we won there recently. And yeah, it was a chaotic race. Not chaotic. I mean, it was a chaotic ending, but other than that, it was just a typical Texas race, in my opinion.
Yeah, tires were weirdly an issue today. Chase Elliott had a right front issue. He had 2 or 3 instances where he felt a vibration in the car, and he had to pit once under green for it and lost a lap because of it. And Kyle Larson and William Byron each had a tire issue. Kyle Busch was complaining of tire issues, so I don't really know what the deal was there, but Goodyear, I think, definitely needs to take a look at the tires for Texas next year, or maybe even next week. But yeah, let me go through the top 10 really quick, and then I'll update you guys on the playoff standings heading into Texas. So Kyle Larson obviously got the win. William Byron finished 2nd. Christopher Bell finished 3rd. Brad Keselowski 4th. Harvick 5th. Blaney 6th. The trio of 4s right there. All of them were pretty fast throughout the day. Chase Elliott finished 7th, and Kyle Busch finished 8th. Both of them after rebounding after several issues today, which is great for us. Tyler Reddick 9th. He was running up there. He had a chance to win this race, and then just on one or two of those restarts, he got shuffled at the wrong spot at the wrong time, dropped to 9th, and Daniel Suarez 10th. So great run for that Trackhouse organization for them to get a top 10 finish. And where the other playoff drivers finished, Denny Hamlin finished 11th. Somehow he rebounded to there after his issue. Truex finished 25th after getting involved in that late wreck with Suarez, and Joey Logano finished 30th after blowing an engine. So transitioning into our playoff standings, so Kyle Larson obviously advances to the next round with the win. Ryan Blaney is plus 17, Denny Hamlin plus 9, Kyle Busch plus 8, and then Chase Elliott minus 8, Brad Keselowski minus 15, Truex minus 22, and Logano minus 43. So that's the top 10 in the playoff standings for you guys. I think anybody below the cut line, I think, still has a chance to win in these next few races just because of how well the Penske cars ran today. Brad Keselowski, so surprisingly good speed, Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr. They are both really good at Martinsville, so either one of them could move into the next round with a win there. So I don't think anybody's safe heading into these next two races at Kansas and Martinsville. But Matthew, Danny, have any comments about the playoff standings or any other concluding thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's anybody's race except for Larson. I mean, he's done. I mean, he's already advanced. But other than that, it's still anybody's game here. I mean, it's gonna be nerve-wracking. But here's our common catchphrase: you still got Larson, even though he's won. He's still gonna be up there trying to win more races. So they still got to deal with him, especially next weekend because he's really good. He's mile and a halves. But we'll see how this goes. I'm glad we're in the championship for right now, but I don't think that's gonna last long because we all know how the championship. I mean, we know how these playoffs shift so easily. So I'm nervous still, even though we're in right now. But it's not about a lot.
Go ahead and rate the race for me too while you're at it.
Okay. This is tough actually. I mean, I guess I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I mean, half of it was boring, but the other half was chaos. I mean, not the other half, but like the ending was crazy. So I will rate it lower, but I'm going to give some grace there because the ending was making that exciting. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
I'm gonna go a tiny bit higher. I'm gonna go a 6 out of 10. I thought the wreck in the beginning of the race was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that happen before, at least at Texas on this new configuration. So that was pretty crazy to see that happen. And then there was some drama with obviously Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch having issues and trying to work their way back up to the field. And then other playoff drivers had issues. And then the final 50 laps or so were pretty intense. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10. And I'm hopping into our fantasy standings as well. So I am closing the gap. I am there. I thought I was out of this thing, and now I'm right back in it. So
all because of a rule change that you made in the
I did
season.
not make a rule
Yes,
change.
you did.
No, I didn't. I did not.
I'm glad we're changing this rule next season.
We'll tell you guys about that probably at the end of the season or next season, but we're gonna make it a little bit more consistent as far as our picks go next season. But for now, I am at 29, and you are at 33. And since I got the most points this week, I will be picking first for next week at Kansas, and you can pretty much guarantee I'm going to be picking a Kyle Larson as my main pick because he is on a roll right now. 8 wins already. And, okay, really quick, I just want to say that, like, Kyle Larson, I think he's more of a favorite this year than Kevin Harvick was last year, just because Kevin Harvick had to deal with Denny Hamlin as well. But Kyle Larson, he's in his own zip code. He's the only driver with that many wins. The next person with that many is Truex, and he has 4, I believe. So Kyle Larson's in his own zip code right now. Like nobody's even close to him when it comes to wins. And on a week-to-week basis, he has to be the favorite in my opinion. But I think that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely an interesting weekend at Texas. It was a little bit better than average, I guess we could say. Obviously,
wait. Can I get a last comment like you always do?
There, okay. Let's hear it.
Man, you almost skipped me, but I was gonna I was gonna talk about what you were just talking about Larson. Here's the thing of Phoenix, though. I mean, we've seen this happen before. It doesn't matter how many wins you'll have. It doesn't matter if you have 8, 10, 1. Heck, even 0. I mean, Ryan Newman almost did that in 2014. I mean, all it comes down to this last race. So, I mean, Larson is the favorite, yeah, for sure. But, I mean, that one race only matters. And we all know, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, this playoff format really has shown that it doesn't matter how many wins you have. It doesn't matter how consistent you've been all season long. It only comes down to this one final race. Like, we've seen... The big example is, of course, the big 3 in 2018. We all thought one of those 3 was going to win the championship, but it ended up being Logano, who only had like 3 wins that season, I think. Or, what was another example? Or even 2020, we thought Harvick or Hamlin was going to win the championship, but Chase Elliott won it because, stuff happened during the third round, and then Hamilton didn't, of course, being himself, didn't show up in the championship for it. So, I mean, we can pick favorites, but it's gonna be it all really comes down to what really happens during that race.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely comes down to how a team executes at Phoenix, but I mean, Kyle Larson is obviously the favorite, but anything can happen and will happen probably. There'll probably be some drama at Phoenix. Like last year, Chase Elliott had to start at the rear, and that was great. But anyways, that's gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely an interesting weekend from Texas, like I said. But we're moving on. Kyle Larson has punched his ticket to the Final Four. It'll be interesting to see who can do it in the next few weeks. We got Kansas next week, Martinsville the week after that we will be at. So that's going to be interesting for sure. But that's going to conclude this video. Our next one will be previewing Kansas and recapping any news that came out throughout the week. But until then, we will see you guys in our next video.